few questions I want to ask, but I compliment you on your qualifications as I read your brochure. It's showing your education. Some of you I know and some of you don't know. But I want to know, I have a three-part question. One, the first part of that question is, how many people have you supervised during your time? At what position? Okay? And how did you take care of those people individually? If I still have 2 minutes, I'd like to take that time. I also have observation. Now I've heard, I'm the retired military too, I heard what you said. I heard what you said about Sheriff Morgan, and that's fine. But I would ask you to make the military feel welcome when you come back into your community, because when you were drinking milkshake, I was drinking water from the rice paddies in Vietnam. We have something to offer you too. We have a lot to learn from you. I've been a citizen here since the 70s, and so I don't like it too well when I have to be part of you. I am part of you. I'm part of you, and I would say that you have freedom today. You have freedom today because of God and those who serve the country. Thank you.
I've not had one job over the last 35 years. I've had a number of jobs. My first job was with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office for approximately 30 years. I rose to the rank of lieutenant. I supervised anywhere from 15 to 20 officers on a shift. And on that shift, we were a training shift. We had 2 K-9 officers. We had 2 field training officers, and that was a lot of fun. Patrol is a lot of fun. After I left there, I went to Iraq for 2 years. I was embedded with the military in Tikrit, which is where ISIS is located right now. After I left Iraq, I went to Afghanistan, and after I left Afghanistan, my last job, I was the contingent commander. You had 110 subject matter experts in the area of law enforcement in Haiti. I was in charge of those subject matter experts down there. We did everything from criminal intelligence to narcotics. And
So you supervise them? There's a difference in being in charge and being the supervisor of people. There's a difference because of communication and your ability to communicate with people that you get their performance. So my question is, I'm trying to figure out something here. I'm looking for somebody ethical, with high moral and honesty. And then the second thing I'm looking for is no leadership. That is, how long were you in the job, and what job did you have, and how many people did you supervise? Not for the overall, but how many people came under your responsibility of supervision? Were you in charge or someone else in charge of those people?
I was in charge in Haiti of 110 subject matter experts. They answered to me, sir. When I was with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, anywhere from 15 to 20. They answered to me, and I answered to a captain who answered to a sheriff.
I was employed by the Escambia County Sheriff's Office October the 5th, 1965. I was a corporal, I was a sergeant, I was a lieutenant, I was in charge of many of the substations, Pensacola Beach, Cantonment. I was in charge of training, I was in charge of disaster preparedness. I've supervised anywhere from a smaller group as 6 law enforcement officers to 1,150 law enforcement officers and correction and civilian personnel. I did have captains, I did have lieutenants, and I did have sergeants. But I held them accountable, and I was on the streets at night, seeing what they were doing, listening to the radio, intervening if I needed to, but staying out of the way if I didn't need to be in the way. I have supervised a lot of people during Hurricane Ivan. Law enforcement officers from all over the United States came to Pensacola to help us. They answered to me. I was their supervisor. When I went to Mississippi, there was officers from all over the world there. Every county in the state of Florida. We even had firemen from New York City. They answered to me in that community. I have the experience to supervise people and to know the subject matter. I am a certified law enforcement officer until after I left office. I am not certified now, but I will become certified again. Thank you.
Well, over my 35 years of being a law enforcement officer, a lot of the officers down at the PPD, Pensacola Police Department, joke with me because I've been acting chief, acting assistant chief, patrol captain, acting SWAT commander, Homeland Security Director, overseeing Florida Initiative to Domestic Security statewide, been a part of the Oversight Commission overseeing $400+ million of money, federal money coming into the state of Florida, supervising the usage of that money, supervising Marine response to domestic security throughout the state of Florida. There's a lot of things that I've been involved with and have a very wide range of supervision and experience in doing so. I've been the adjunct commander of the Pensacola Police Department Patrol Division, where I supervised every man and woman in uniform in our patrol division. I've also been a sergeant of our Special Operations Unit, which was involved in the seizure of narcotics and the implementation of robbery task forces and all the things that we do as special operations. You know, people that in law enforcement, they can understand that. But I have a very wide range of experience in supervising people, directly and indirectly.
In my 4th year with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, I was promoted to a corporal. In those days, in 1984, corporals were frontline supervisors. I was routinely responsible for the men and women at the narcotics unit of the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. That would be anywhere from 10 to 20 people, depending on staffing at that particular time. That supervision involved investigation of violent offenders, the actual execution of search warrants, the application for court orders, very meticulous work that has to be done not only to establish probable cause, but to make sure that investigations are successful when they actually get to court. Ultimately, as a DEA agent, I have supervised anywhere from 7 to 100 people, depending upon the specifics of an investigation. I know Mr. McKnight for 25 years. He was a guest speaker at a red ribbon rally we had many years ago at the Pensacola Civic Center. He has a magnificent military background, and I still have a piece of a rock that he brought back from the Berlin Wall after it was taken down. I had known his daughter, who was a federal agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration, very successful federal agent. I have had lots of experience in supervising teams. So that you understand how that applies to the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office the Sheriff is responsible for 431 positions, as he says, but he supervises an executive staff of 6 or 8 people. And those 6 or 8 people, much like in the military, they go out and directly supervise those folks. And I have demonstrated the ability to do that. I will tell you that is in enforcement activities versus human resources.
At the ripe old age of 20, I had 70 people assigned to me at Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. We had a number of, we call them flights in the Air Force. We had approximately 115. I was responsible directly for 70. I will tell you that that's a heck of a job for a 20-year-old. Why? Because you're responsible for their entire life. all their training records, make sure that they were at the appointed place at the appointed time, making sure that they've had their medical and dental appointments. You own these young men and women that are assigned to you at that time. So, you're immersed deeply in supervision and how it's done. And you live or die in the military by your ability to lead and manage. Your entire career is scheduled around that. From that, as a first lieutenant at McConnell Air Force Base, went to approximately 110, 120 personnel, depending upon the fluctuation of that time, involved with base police operations and missile security, guarding nuclear weapons, stuff in Kansas planes. Again, same deal, responsible again when something went wrong. The big difference between the military and what you see up here in civilian law enforcement, I will tell you, is this. If one of your personnel made a mistake, something as simple as missing an appointment, you got written up. You got written up. Because your failure to effectively lead and manage was directly attributed to that. If you were leading and managing appropriately, they would have been at the appointed place at the appointed time. So it's none of this, we drag you in here and write you up for being slugged because you didn't show up for your appointment. The supervisor is held completely and totally responsible for that. After being elected sheriff, I went up to deputy chief of police while I was in the Air Force in my second tour of duty at McConnell Air Force Base, Kansas. We had just a little bit over 500 people at one time. I think we had 503, and I was the deputy chief of police there. Of course, being sheriff, we had approximately 1,200 people. We had the jail. When the jail was given back today, we have 433 sworn positions, but our total, including administration, is 704 today, and we're funded by the county commission. So, again, a vast experience. In addition to that, I will tell you the military and their training that they give you for leadership and management is second to none. Squadron Officer School, Air Command Staff College, Air War College. You live and die by your leadership.